Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Leading Change. My name is Emma, and I've got Alexis with me today. And we're going to be talking about training within the insurance industry and also touch on some cyber insurance information as well. But before we get to all the questions that I've got for you, can you give everybody an introduction?
Absolutely. And first of all, Emma, thank you so much for having me on your show today. I'm really excited to kind of talk about some of my favorite things, education and cyber, and in the insurance industry as a whole. So I'm Alexis Vaughn. I am the AVP of Agency Marketing for Cowbell. We are a standalone cyber insurance provider, tech-enabled. I absolutely love what we do because we don't just sell a policy. We also make sure that our clients have everything that they need from a cybersecurity standpoint as well, so that they can have the best cyber risk profile possible. And I'm just really excited about all the great things that we're going to be talking about today. I oversee all agency engagement efforts for all of our 21,000 agents and brokers who are appointed with Cowbell. I have Cowbell Academy, which we'll talk a little bit about today. As one of my functions, I oversee all of the association relationships, all of the field and company events. I have the awesome pleasure of planning all of those as well, along with my team. And we do some really great things and exciting things with the content to try to make sure that everything is broken down in a digestible way so that everyone can understand, whether it's a broker, agent, or policyholder at every level when it comes to learning about cyber insurance.
Well, thank you for joining me. And I think you gave me, with that intro, the perfect segue into our first question. So,
Yeah.
knowing that you are responsible for that agency training, let's talk a little bit about what makes learning within the insurance industry so difficult and why this is a specific area of focus for you guys.
Yeah, so I've been in the insurance industry now, Emma, for about 13 years. It'll be 14 this year. Kind of started my industry career at the agency and broker level. And that's where you're going to have to get the meat and potatoes in order to be able to grow in your career the way that you need to if you're starting out in that area. You get to touch everybody. You get to touch claims and underwriting and all of those things. So I just remembered myself being a broker, the number one thing that I cared about was education about a topic, and any type of solution that you wanted me to sell, as long as you educated me on it, I could get out there and sell it. So, it's just kind of difficult because the industry is always changing. And then each industry vertical has its own lane that it has to stay in, and they have their own protocols that they have to follow, whether it's a P&C product or even a life and health product, and even securities products. All of those products are ever changing. So it is a lot to keep up with. So it's critical to have different levels of education, whether it's continuing education that we all have to renew our licenses on an annual basis. That's why they're always trying to find ways to educate us and making sure that we're keeping up with the trends and also any changes that are happening in the industry.
So I've got to imagine with that audience, you have lots of different skill sets and levels of knowledge. So what do you guys do to kind of differentiate to help meet these agents wherever they are on that journey of understanding cyber insurance?
Yeah, so I'm literally thinking of every agent and broker at every level. That could be your new incoming agents who are CSR level. Maybe they're just getting into the industry and their only training is probably actually submitting a policy on behalf of their broker. Same thing for our independent agencies. This may be their first look into getting into cyber insurance, is actually getting in the Cowbell platform and actually just doing a quote. So I like to make sure that we're making it easy for everyone at every level. And then we're also bringing something different to every learner as well. So if we have the advanced learners who may know a lot more about cyber, we're going to make sure that we're bringing them more complex topics, but also breaking them down for them as well. Because let's just be honest, cybersecurity and cyber in general is still very complex, no matter how experienced you are in cyber insurance or even cybersecurity for that matter, because they're two different things. So I look at this as a way of bridging the gap between the world of cyber insurance and cybersecurity, bringing them together, making sure that everyone has a great understanding of how each one works well together and how they complement each other. And also just kind of making sure that it's always at a level where your entry level cyber insurance agents and brokers can actually understand how to talk about it and explain the products and the offerings that are within their standalone cyber insurance policy to their policyholder. And then for those who want that more complex and they want all these extra add-ons and value adds, we try to make sure for our value-based sellers that they understand all the different value adds that we have in there, like our risk engineering team meeting with every single policyholder, making sure that they know about those values, because a lot of them sell on value and not on price, which is really important. We want to make sure they know about our Cabo RX platform. These are pre-negotiated rates that we've actually already went out and got for them and their policyholders from different cybersecurity vendors and partners that we vetted for them. Same thing for our claims panel. We have a claims panel that we've actually vetted for all of our policyholders so that we actually know that it's a team that we trust and respect to be able to kind of bring them to the table when our clients are actually facing that really stressful time, to know that they have experts handling their claim. So, just kind of making sure that there's a level of training for each level. I think that's going to be our most critical thing. And we're thinking about that at Cowbell Academy when we create every single training. And something important to understand is we have licensed cyber insurance experts who are creating these courses, like myself. We also have cybersecurity experts who are also contributing content for us to be able to create these courses as well. And I think that's going to be really important and critical for us to understand, is that we have experts that are helping put together this content so that we can make sure that it's the best and the highest quality of content that you can possibly get. And for this to be the very first ever e-learning center fully dedicated to cyber insurance, provided by a leading cyber insurance provider. I think that's just huge for us.
So there is a ton of attention on this space, but I think one thing that I'd like to kind of end or wrap up our conversation with is learning from you a little bit about what are some of the nuances that maybe, and you started to get to a little bit of it with some of those more complex trainings, but what are some of the nuances that make cyber more complex than other policies? And also, if you have, information that you think is important for people, even if they're not the agents selling this, to understand about cyber insurance.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things is kind of understanding, just as a broker and an agent, making sure that you have a policy that is customized and tailored to that particular client. When you get what we call the BOP endorsement, and that's just adding on some type of endorsement for cyber coverage. It could just be for data breach coverage, knowing that, hey, that's not going to be a fully comprehensive coverage for my particular client. Maybe I should go and actually get them a fully tailored and customized standalone cyber insurance product with Cowbell that actually is going to have literally everything that they need for their particular industry. We're going to make sure that it's customized. It's going to be a revenue is going to be calculated in there as well, which is important because we know that the small to medium sized enterprise that may be only having $50,000 in revenue shouldn't have the same premium as someone with $5 million in revenue. So that's the thing that's critical as well, and we're going to make sure that they even have the cybersecurity measures in place even before they get their policy. So making sure that they have multi-factor authentication. That's huge, because when they sit down with our risk engineering team and they're able to tell them, hey, these are some really important things that you need to do to have a better cyber risk profile and to put you in a better position as a policyholder to keep you from actually having to be a victim of a cyber attack. I think that's going to be huge right there. And this is one of our biggest keys and selling points to me. It's a huge value for our clients. And I love the fact that you don't have to have a cybersecurity team or an IT team for us to sit down with you. Our risk engineers are sitting down with every single policyholder no matter how small or how large the business is.
Thank you so much for joining us for the discussion. And
Yes,
if you're not
you're
already,
welcome.
make sure that you follow Alexis and get in on their podcast, especially if cybersecurity and insurance is something that you're interested in.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for joining me, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me, Emma.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Leading Change. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe and come back weekly for more expert interviews on digital transformation, change management, and emerging technologies.